Hello there, this is Nshimiyimana. Welcome back to UX Live. In this episode, I'm hosting
Frank Ngoga.
So in this episode, we're going to ask him some questions about product design lead. By the end of the video, you learn a thing or two about his product design skills. So Frank, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. So, it's pretty much, what you just said. So I'm basically a product designer. So I basically design and conceptualize digital products. Yeah.
All right. So how was your product journey from the beginning up to now? Can you give us like the highlight?
Basically starts from, a passion to, think about stuff and, wanting to realize that stuff, which is how I got into graphic design.
Okay.
For some time, and then later on, tried out designing, for usability for people, digital products, and I've also had a chance to work with a whole number of companies to help train that product muscle.
Okay.
Where I've had the opportunity and the chance to just play around with building and designing products.
Seems like you have much experience. So can you tell us some of the biggest challenges you faced in your product design process and how you handled them?
Probably the first one was to understand the fact that what I'm designing is not for me. Right? The idea that you have to think of someone else, think for the user, and then walk in their shoes, and then design the product based on that. So that's the hardest. Second,
still on that, how did you overcome that?
How did I overcome it?
Yes, because even for me, it's that same issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes with time. And I also think it comes with learning as well. So getting to, you're doing something because you're passionate about it, you're getting paid for it, but then you want to learn and try to become the best you can be. So by doing that, you're gonna hit that point where everyone you look up to, or everyone who pretty much does it best, follows a certain set of rules or best practices that you will have to adjust to if you want to be the best as well.
Your next challenge?
Yeah, next challenge, I think it was about product discovery. So in the sense that before building anything, before designing anything, you really have to spend a good amount of time in understanding what you're going to be building. And that's a very essential step that when you skip it, you're basically going to be moving around loops every single time. So basically, it took me a lot of time to get to learn that and get to have it as a practice. That every time you're going to build something, you need to spend time on that phase and really understand it, so that the moment you start building or designing, you're not asking questions you should have asked in the first place.
Okay, speaking of product discovery, do you have any tools you use to help you, or?
I mean, tools come in as a way of doing, but then in terms of the actual practice, it's more of a methodology. So it's more of, I want to build an app to maybe help users, I don't know, text each other, for example, right?
Okay.
So the idea then will be, what are they looking for really, right? There's the actual, act of texting, but then do they wish they will just use voice notes? Do they wish they will just use shortcuts? Do they wish they will just have predefined messages, all that stuff? So, the what, why, all that stuff, it's more of like, questionnaires and interviews and all that stuff, and then you just, you could document it in any tool really, not, Miro, anything can work.
Okay, the last challenge, and then we move to the next question.
I think that to be a good product designer or a good product person, in general, you really need to have a team player spirit, right? And growing up with my background, it was always a one-man show, right? It's like, someone talks to you, they want X, Y, Z, you just go and do it. Now, as you grow up, professionally, and then get to work with bigger and bigger teams and bigger and bigger products, you get to understand that the best ideas are they are a result of a collective effort. So getting to understand it and learn it and then actually practice it, from that solo background to more of a team background, it's also a pretty tough journey.
Thank you, Frank. The next question will be, what is your product design process like? Like, assume you got an idea, how do you proceed from ideation up to the product it's out being used by users?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty standard process in the sense that you basically, I don't know, if you have a new product, there's the idea, there is refining the idea, then there is, getting users to tell you a bit of what they want, and then use it to prototype, a certain draft 0, draft 1, which you will in turn, share with, stakeholders for any feedback, and then, iterate until you get to an MVP, if I could put it that way. And then from there on, it goes on to the dev handoff.
From that process, I think it also includes like the product design evaluation or user acceptance evaluation, right? So how do you do that? Do you go back and test the product yourself, or do you do some surveys, or
both? Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
I mean, so it really depends. So resources available, in terms of how many people in the team, or any other resources that come with that. But in general, I'll probably give you an example. I think it's gonna make more sense. So like, we used to design dashboards for officers when I was still at TDM, for government officers. So we have, we have a big number of these guys in the country. So you're gonna work on something with the input of a small focus group, and then by the end of the design sprint, so you're gonna reach out to the same guys again, more of like the champions, and at the same time on some features you'd have to send out surveys. So you'd basically combine the two. So what you get from the champions, and then you'd use the surveys to guide you on I'd say it's the survey bit comes in when you're looking for what more users or what more people tend to, right? It's more of like 100 people thinks XYZ is complicated, right? And then you build onto that, and then get to a point where you even have to meet people physically. Just like they work hand in hand, depending on the situation. Yeah.
How do you deal with, you do something, think it's good, it's better, and then bam, the client says, this design is weird. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, that's what I said. I think designers in general, we have a tendency to think that what we like is what other people like, which is it's a very big misconception. I mean, let's say if I'm the client and I hire you as a designer. Okay. First of all, I wouldn't even understand why you expect me to like what you like. Right? That's the empathy bit.
To add on that, remember some clients doesn't even know what they want.
I mean,
most of them, yes.
That's subjective. I mean, I think as a designer, you have the role to kind of lead the way, right? And advise on what's best and all that stuff.
Okay.
But then again, which I think is the most complex bit, is try as much as possible to walk, in the client's or the user's shoes.
So lastly, yeah, can you give us like three resources you use for inspiration? No, 3 sources, sorry.
I think, surprising enough, I think the first one is books. In a sense that there is articles, there is videos, there's like micro Twitter threads.
Okay.
But then I've found that books have, most of the knowledge. The other one will be, following, the best people in my field. To me, when I think of product design, even like what I want to be doing in the future, is I want to be able to start designing products, tangible products, like a cup, a chair, a phone, all these things. So, and I think UX gets more interesting in that kind of thing. It's like, you ever bought something and then, for example, you might hold the phone and then it feels right to you. I think this level of satisfaction is way more than if you try to use a platform and it works. I mean, it might be subjective, but that's me. So, which is why I'm a Steve Jobs fan. I like following companies and people that do that best. So the first one being Apple, of course. So these guys, for some reason, every time you use an iPhone, you don't go back to an Android. So they
That's what
have,
happened to me actually.
exactly. So there has got to be something there that keeps you hooked. I also like following Johnny Ive. Yeah, I mean the rest is just like online, accounts, all that stuff. Basically, like a bunch of websites and like product design gurus. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for your insights. So also thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any other question for Frank, feel free to drop it under the comment section. So see you in the next episode.